Are Leeds United now an unstoppable force heading back to the Premier League? Well, after last night's late drama against Sunderland, I think you'd have to say so. Daniel Farke's side have now gone back to the top of the Championship. They put a 7-point buffer between themselves and first, and Burnley, who are currently the team occupying that spot in third right now. And, I mean, don't get it twisted, Leeds have been on an unbelievable run of form recently, but last night's result against Sunderland, particularly the way it came about, that feels like a real statement result for the Championship and for the remainder of the season, and how much that could actually influence who goes up in one of those top two places. Now, after all the drama of last night, this video will predominantly be based around Leeds United, but a quick word on Sunderland first of all, because for the majority of that match, I actually thought they did fairly well to stifle a lot of Leeds United's threats. Obviously, it was a brilliant goal from Wilson Isidore to give the Black Cats the lead in the first half. He absolutely span Ethan Ampadu, didn't he? And he's got the quality to do that, to twist up one of the best defensive players in the Championship. And from a Sunderland perspective, the game plan was almost executed perfectly, certainly until Leeds got their first goal. You know, going away to a place like Ellen Road, you're never going to see that much of the ball or have that many clear-cut chances, but Sunderland were doing fairly well to pick their moments to get forward. They were testing Meslier quite a bit when they did get into those forward positions as well, but the game-changing moment, certainly from a Leeds United perspective, came in the 71st minute when Daniel Farke made that double substitute, with Rothwell and Strauch both coming on. And I mean, as soon as Leeds got that first goal, it almost felt inevitable. Maybe not that Leeds would win that game, but you certainly couldn't see Sunderland winning it from that point onwards. All the momentum was going in Leeds United's favour from that point onwards, wasn't it? And the fact that after combining for the first goal, it was then the two substitutes who combined for the winner again. I mean, the scenes at Ellen Road at full time were, I mean, the place absolutely erupted, didn't it? And credit to Daniel Farke for making that tweak. It has been something thrown at him over the time of his tenure at Ellen Road, where his in-game substitutes at times haven't always paid off, but on this occasion it looks like an absolute masterstroke. In the case of Sunderland, it has become a bit of a reoccurring issue for them this season, conceding goals late on in Championship matches. I believe so far this season, it's actually only Cardiff who have conceded more goals past the 90th minute than Sunderland have, and if you look into a lot of the games where they've ended up dropping points this season, it's tended to be the case where Sunderland have actually been leading in the match, all to go on and either lose it or end up drawing. So listen, going away and losing to Leeds at Ellen Road, there's certainly no disgrace in that, but in the case of Sunderland, it now leaves a 10-point gap between themselves in fourth and Leeds in first. From this point onwards, I think it's very hard to see Sunderland finishing above Leeds, and while that second automatic promotion spot may be still attainable for Sunderland, they're really going to have to work at that maybe bit of game management late on in matches if they want to close that gap on the sides above them. I mean, from a Leeds United perspective, this is their season so far, and this recent run of form from December onwards is just absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, the amount of green on here. Their last loss in the Championship was all the way back on the 30th of November. Their last and only loss at Ellen Road this season was on the 14th of September, a 1-0 loss at home to Burnley, and since that point, I mean, they've just been racking up the wins, haven't they? And it is quite interesting, really, looking at Leeds' fixture running from now until the end of the season. This sort of period of fixtures from sort of late February to early March, I think we all saw as quite season defining for Daniel Farke's side. You know, they had this really tough fixture against Sunderland. They're now going into a real crunch match away at Sheffield United. They've then got this home game against West Brom, which could be tricky as well. But looking at their running for the end of the season, and listen, anything in the Championship is possible. You know, we saw Leeds on an unbelievable run last season and they ended up having a hiccup towards the end, and Leicester and Ipswich obviously beat them to the punch. But in a lot of these matches here from sort of April onwards, it's very hard to see Leeds slipping up in more than one or two of these fixtures. And the fact that Leeds have won that game against Sunderland in the manner of which they did, that would give them just such a confidence booster going away to Sheffield United next, which I'm really looking forward to. And to be honest, it has to be said as well, for a lot of the underlying statistics list this season, Leeds have been just by far and away the best team in the Championship. Creatively, they've been the best team in the Championship by quite a fair distance. Way better than their automatic promotion rivals in this case. You know, you've got Sheffield United, Sunderland, and then Burnley, who are all the way down here in terms of creative numbers. Leeds are blowing them out of the water in terms of the scoring positions they're getting into. But then quite crucially as well, they've also been the best defensive team in the Championship when it comes to limiting the opposition to quite a few chances. I know that Burnley have been the best team in the league in terms of keeping the ball out of the back of the net, but when it comes to the underlying numbers, that's actually been Leeds this season. So obviously looking at the Championship table, you've got Leeds on 72 points right now, Sheffield United on 70, and before any Blades fans do point out, they have also accumulated 72 points this season, if you discount that 2-point deduction that they were obviously hit by before a ball had been kicked. So that's why I think Monday night's clash between Leeds and Sheffield United will be so interesting. I think most Championship fans would probably agree on the eye test this season. Leeds have been the best team in the Championship up until this point, but Sheffield United are capable of mixing it with anyone. And these two have had brilliant promotion battles in years gone by, you know, thinking to the last time they were both in the Championship and both gunning for promotion with Wilder's old Sheffield United side and Bielsa at Leeds. There very well could still be a twist in the tale to come in regards to who wins the Championship. But what I think is interesting is there is a bit of a gap which is now starting to form between the top two and Burnley and Sunderland. Obviously, we've got a massive gap here between 4th and 5th in the Championship, but after Sunderland lost this one against Leeds, Burnley dropped points against Preston. You know, despite Burnley being on this brilliant unbeaten run themselves at the moment, there is a bit of a gap starting to appear there. 5 points between Burnley and Sheffield United. But obviously, all of that could change with Leeds set to play the Blades on Monday. The Championship is a league which is full of twists and turns, and I mean, it would be a bit boring if Leeds were to just go supersonic between now and the end of the season, beat everyone in their path and claim promotion from this point onwards. It very well could happen, but I just feel like the Championship always has a twist or two up its sleeve that maybe there'll be a bit of a hiccup at some point. But as of recording right now, I think it's very hard to see Leeds not in at least one of the top 2 positions come the end of the season. Not only is that a reflection on Leeds and how good they've been of late, but maybe that lack of firepower that Burnley have got, despite their excellent defensive record, and obviously Sunderland have had a bit of a tendency to get into those leading positions and not quite see it through. But like I say, I do think it would take a very brave man from this position onwards not to predict Leeds to be in one of those automatic promotion spots come the end of the season. As of recording right now, Leeds are currently averaging 2.18 points per game, which if they were to maintain between now and the end of the season, that would see Leeds accumulating 100 points this season, which not only would blow their tally from last season out of the water, but it would also be more points than both Ipswich and Leicester accumulated last season. We think how dominant that Leicester City side was in the Championship at points of last season. They only accumulated 97 points in the end. So at their current trajectory, Leeds are on pace to beat that. I mean, they're even picking up more points per game than Bielsa's side was last time he was at this level. So there is something special about this Leeds team right now that's going to take some stopping between now and the end of the season. But obviously, we've still got a fair bit of time to go between now and the end of the season. Leeds and Sunderland fans, I'd love to get your perspective down below on last night's game. And any Burnley and Sheffield United fans as well. How do you see the top 2 shaping up come the end of the season? Let me know down below. But other than that, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. Make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's video. We will have our Championship predictions coming out where we will be previewing that massive game between Sheffield United and Leeds, which is coming up on Monday. But apart from that, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.